Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from Free State, Colorado, and I hope you're doing well. We have a lot of left leaning and far left organizations operating here in our state who are politically active. And I wanted to highlight one today that you may not have heard of, but is taking an active role in these 2025 off year elections. Not a lot of people pay attention to these elections that occur in odd number years. We have some important elections going on statewide, and that's mayors, city councils, a lot of school board seats that can really shape the makeup of our state for years to come. So here's an article from Denverite back in 2018. Tea Party of the Left claims victory as its progressive candidates advance in Denver. What's next? The Working Families Party has operated in New York City for 20 years, but this is the first time they've run a real ground campaign in Colorado. And unfortunately, that was what the first year they ran a ground campaign in Colorado, but it is not the last. They are still active and they're still spending money and endorsing candidates here in 2025. There's Julie Gonzalez, who had become state senator, who has supported every manner of authoritarian legislation that our government has put forward, including ridiculous and unconstitutional, in my opinion, gun bans. So I won't read this whole article. Of course, I'll have all the links at Free State Colorado if you're interested. But just so you know here, WFP endorsed the victors in 4 out of 5 competitive local races, including endorsements for Gonzalez Gutierrez, Rodriguez, and Sirota. They did not get Megan Nutting. She lost to Valdez in House District 5. And again, this is back in 2018, but these are a lot of the same people who are serving even today. They spent $30,000 on Rodriguez's campaign. They spent more than $30,000 on behalf of Emily Sirota, who's been an absolute disaster, plus a $35,000 combined campaign for Gonzalez. Wow. Gonzalez Gutierrez and Attorney General candidate Joe Salazar. Joe Salazar was one of the big ones who was really pushing the gun bans back in 2013, 2014. Really a bad person, in my opinion, for our liberty. They made 6,000 phone calls, 2,500 door knocks, 30,000 text messages. So these people know what they're doing. They have a budget of $350,000. And sure, this is years ago, but nonetheless, we got to look back to the past to see what's kind of set the stage for today. So let's take a look here and see some of the other stuff they've been doing. As you may expect, they are pretty active on Blue Sky, less active on X than they used to be, I would think. But here's a recent post for them. Colorado Working Families Party. Leadership isn't about title. It's what you do when lobbyist knocks and when power pushes back, when community calls. So this is them highlighting some of their favorite legislators. And if you've been following my work at Free State Colorado for a while, you're going to know that these names they're listing are nobody that we should be celebrating. They are people who are absolutely on the wrong side of liberty and freedom. First off, they start here with some local offices, local elected. You may know some of these people, especially if you're in the Denver metro area or Boulder. Denver City Council member Serena Gonzalez Gutierrez, Denver Council member Sarah Paraday, Chantel Lewis, Edgewater Hannah Gay Ko, Boulder City Council Nicole Spear, Boulder Mayor Pro Tem Lauren Folkerts, Boulder County Commissioner Ashley Stoltzman. If you know anything about these people, I'd love to hear about it, but I can only guess how they operate based on what I'm seeing here. And then, of course, you got Yara Zoke, who is, gosh, been an absolute disaster, who has supported price controls, gun control, and really some disastrous legislation this last year. And of course, you got Monica Duran, the House Majority Leader, who is a prime sponsor on gun control, who is an absolute disaster for our businesses and our families. You got Julie Gonzalez, of course, Mike Wiseman. So, not a good group of people to be associated with. But I wanted to show you who their torchbearers are. They see these people as the examples for how other legislators, how other city council members should be operating here in Colorado. So, of course, let's look at who else they love. They love Tim Hernandez here. This is back from 2024 last year when Tim Hernandez was running and he ended up losing in the primary campaign in 2024. But you can see they reposted his tweet here. Colorado Working Families Party reposting. Tim Hernandez, that's their guy for sure. They endorsed him. So, just to give you an idea again of the kind of people that they are looking to take leadership roles in our state government. If you're not familiar with Tracer, I definitely recommend you do get familiar with Tracer. You can see the donations, the money they've given over the years. I mean, this is as soon as 2024. You got Stephanie V. Hill, who thankfully lost by 3 votes to Rebecca Kelty. You got Vivian Smalls, who's, oh my gosh, I got to do a whole video on that person. Rhonda Solis, eh, Brian Lindstrom, Junie Joseph. Tim for Colorado is Tim Hernandez. Obi for Colorado, if anybody remembers him, the kind of Westminster guy. Jenny Wilford. You can keep going down the list here. Faith Winter, Tammy Story, Tony Exum, Parenti. And the list goes on and on. Amanda Gonzalez for Jeffco Clerk, who's now running for Secretary of State. Dave Young for Colorado, our treasurer, who's running for CD8. Jen Griswold, who, of course, everybody knows her. So these are some of the people. Elizabeth Epps, they gave her at least $500, probably more back then. Other organizations, issue committees, and PACs that also supported some of these candidates. And some of this money, this like these $10,000 donations here for the UNE Action Committee, that went to fight in Arvada for the Arvada mayor back then, back in 2021, as well as the Westminster mayor. So they play not just at the state level, but also at the local level. And I think that's important to recognize. But I mean, this is just what's in here, $29,000 listed under their small donor committee. So just to give you an idea there. But moving a little bit closer to today, here's Colorado Working Families Party on Facebook. Loving this socialist, this guy who's absolutely bonkers, Mamdani or whatever his name is, out in New York. They're doing this little public forum here about his election campaign lessons for Colorado progressives. Now, if you don't know about this Mamdani guy, he's the guy who thinks the state or the city government should have grocery stores. They should have total control of people's lives, basically. And of course, they'd love to see this here in Colorado. And you can see who some of the people involved with this are. Their panelists over there is going to be Colleen Johnston, a Denver DSA member. So that's the Democratic Socialists of America National Political Committee. Sandra Parker Murray for the Workers of America Local 7777. Joe Salazar, absolute nightmare. Wen Howell, state director for the Colorado Working Families Party. And the moderators, Aaron Schneider, professor and DU chapter co-president of the American Association of University Professors. So these are the people who are involved, and it goes deep, folks. Of course, they're connected with the Our Revolution. But just to give you an idea, this is Our Revolution Denver Presents with the Colorado Working Families Party really pushing this forward. So bad stuff for sure. Colorado Working Families also promoting this No Kings October 18th protests. They want to keep going after that whole idea. Bad stuff for sure. But I really wanted you to see this. And this is important because you might live in one of these communities. If you live in Aurora, Boulder, Centennial, Fort Collins, Greeley, Littleton, Longmont, Pueblo, Slidell, Thornton, you need to know that some of these endorsed candidates are people you should be very suspicious of, people you should be taking a second look at and understand what kind of role these people would play in your life, in your city government, if they're elected. I do not want to see somebody like a Tim Hernandez or any of those legislators like we just talked about serving in our local communities. But these people know that local matters and that getting involved in that local level is going to make a huge difference in the long term. So this is Colorado Working Families Party, September 18th, 2025. We're proud to announce our endorsements for the November 2025 election. These are the candidates and campaigns ready to take on corporate interests and fight for working people across Colorado. So I won't read everybody's name there. Hopefully you can see it, take a screenshot, pause the video, but I'll have this linked, of course, at freestatecolorado.com so you can go in and look. But I would be very suspicious, and I would not support, if personally, I would not support anybody that is on this list. I'd be looking at who is running against them and giving them a little bit uh, more of a look, that's for sure. And then some of the ballot measures here in Denver, Larimer County, Pueblo, Adams, and those statewide ballot measures. So school board, also a big deal. Denver, Pooter, and Adams, Arapahoe, J28J. So definitely check that out, folks. I also wanted to point out one of those people listed is Tiffany Simmons, who's a candidate for Greeley mayor. And this is a picture from her campaign website. She's standing in front of a Democratic Socialists of America banner of a table, and she's out there speaking. Obviously, somebody they'd be interested in supporting, I would imagine, just based on this picture. And of course, endorsed by the Colorado working parties. We do not want a far left mayor, especially in Greeley or anywhere else. There you can see her again with Jenna Griswold. And there's other pictures there with some other people. So I'd be very cautious for anybody up here in Greeley in the northern part of the state to really pay attention and know that Tiffany Simmons there is connected to some of these far left extreme organizations. Now, one last thing before I let you go today, I wanted to point this out. Recent article over at the Colorado Sun. So the Working Families Party has endorsed somebody I'd never heard of before, Amy Baca Ollert. for Congressional District 8. Now, that's the race to oppose Gabe Evans, and that's going to be a big fight. It is crazy. What is interesting is the Working Families Party's top official is also their lead consultant for that Amy Baca Olart person. So, very interesting there to see as well. Some connection there. But definitely check this out if you're interested. Manny Rootnell and Dave Young were both interested in getting the Working Families Party endorsement, and they didn't, which is pretty interesting. Now, I probably should have known who this Baca Olhert is because they're the former president of the Colorado Education Association, the state's largest teacher union. I would say one of the most dangerous organizations for Colorado families, for Colorado taxpayers, because they always support anything to raise taxes and take more of our hard-earned money. But very interesting stuff there. We'll have to take a look at later at her campaign financing. But nonetheless, you can definitely take a look here. Um, but I thought this was kind of interesting because they actually talk about some of the positions that this person has taken, and they are so extreme. So this is that Baca alert. I mean, I don't think there's a chance this person's going to win in November if they end up being the candidate against Gabe Evans. But she says she supports banning hydraulic fracturing. Of course, this is Congressional District 8. This is where we have a lot of oil and gas. Abolishing U.S. immigration and customs enforcement. So no immigration enforcement whatsoever. Open borders person. The creation of a single payer healthcare system. Does not work very well in Canada, the United Kingdom. It would be a disaster to have the government run healthcare organizations and healthcare systems. Not a good idea, folks. That's not the proper role of government at all. Canceling student debt, of course, trying to get that youth vote. They also grant support granting statehood to Washington, D.C. Bad idea. Union friendly PRO Act, of course, in the pockets of the Union, and the passage of key components of the Green New Deal, the liberal playbook to fight climate change, and a minimum wage of $15. But even that is too low. So you can see it should be $20 to $30, she says. Why not make it $100? Why not make it $1,000 an hour, right? These people are absolutely crazy, but that's who this working parties person and party is endorsed. So really pay attention, folks. If any of these candidates are running for office in your local community, you definitely need to pay attention. You got to focus in your own neighborhood, your own school district, your own town, your own city. That's where the real fight is. And we have organizations out there who are on the far left who understand that and are getting involved. But it's up to us as individuals who believe in liberty and freedom to take a role as leaders in our community. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate your time and take care.